This week, Indonesia is on the road to becoming one of the world's biggest economies. We find out what's holding it back and how that could damage the president's hopes for re-election.
Indonesia is getting wealthier day by day. Its economy is expanding very quickly in comparison with other states of the world. However, the thing is that when the nation becomes wealthier, why do most people not feel wealthier? The numbers appear to be good, but why do people feel that the average Indonesian is not doing well at all? It is one of the questions that lead you to thinking what exactly growth is. The economy of Indonesia has been impressively going upwards somewhere in the recent past. The nation records good growth figures almost every year, with an annual figure of about 5. Not being a laughing matter in any case. The main driver behind this expansion is a number of pivotal industries. There is a constant growth in manufacturing, and the technological startups are on the rise, as well as the exports of natural resources such as palm oil, coal, and rubber are contributing a massive income. In addition to this, the government has been spending a lot in infrastructural expansions. Construction of roads, development of ports, and also digital connectivity that has seen the businesses thrive and attract foreign investors. Such cities as Jakarta, Surabaya, and Bandung are busy and active. Take a look and you will notice it as you look at the line of new skyscrapers rising in the suburbs, the emergence of shopping centers, and the regular run of opening of new businesses, even when old ones close down. These megacities are the mouthpiece of Indonesian economic success, which presents the world with a reflective image of a modern dynamic nation with a rising sun. There is a flood of foreign investment, and Indonesia has stayed on a monthly trade balance for months now, which means it is a healthy economy.
Indonesia's economy isn't growing as fast as the president promised when he was elected 5 years ago. Joko Widodo is spending huge sums to try to get re-elected for a second term. He's giving regional governments billions and giving handouts to the country's poorest. While Indonesia is well on its way to becoming a $2 trillion economy in the next 5 years, a population of more than 250 million people, strung across more than 17,000 islands, is being held back by, among other things, poor infrastructure. While economic growth on the main island of Java expanded at 5.7% last year, Bali dan Nusa Tenggara grew at just 2.7%. Unemployment in Jakarta is running at around 5.3%, but it's more than 8% in the neighboring state of West Java. The World Bank estimates that Indonesia has an infrastructure gap of $1.5 trillion compared to other emerging markets. President Joko Widodo is halfway through a 10-year, $327 billion program to construct new airports, highways.
However, when you consider what is behind these bright, sparkling cities and their big numbers, then the situation is more complex. This growth is creating wealth that is not falling equally in the hands of all citizens. Some live in the comfort of this boom. But even as we see all that many Indonesians are still struggling in tough economic times, and most especially those not in the major cities, the root of the matter is the distribution of wealth. The disparity between the wealthy and the poor is still high, and in most instances it is widening up. A good percentage of the wealth of a country is concentrated in the hands of a relatively small number of people, many of whom are in urban centers. In the meantime, the life of millions of Indonesians living in rural parts of the country or smaller towns does not change much at all. This implies that the GDP figures of the country are doing well, but the reality on the ground is not what one would expect. Education is one of the significant factors causing this gap. Urban children get better schools, trained teachers, and an assortment of educational resources. However, schools that are in rural and remote territories may face poor funding and overpopulation with no good access to proper education. This education deficit makes a greater number of youth. Indonesians find it difficult to become equipped in the skills they require to attain good, stable jobs with improved remunerations. With no such opportunities, breaking out of poverty or making a favorable economic situation is rather difficult.
This is a massive improvement. Indonesia finally has an MRT, just like other country that has been having it for years. It is awesome. I am very proud.
I usually take an old bus to office, but now I'm provided with this very comfortable public transportation. I hope people who take cars to office will use this facility.
There's only one line at the moment, running from South Jakarta to the city centre, covering a distance of 16 kilometers. The plan is to expand this to eventually cover 112 kilometers with more than 60 stations by 2025. Since coming to power in 2014, President Joko Widodo's administration has prioritized infrastructure development like this one as one of the ways to unlock the country's economic potential. Other projects include the construction of ports, roads, power plants, and oil refineries.
Talking about work, the Indonesian labor market is rather intricate. Many of the population are operating within the informal economy. This is an employment that requires no formal employment agreement, benefits, or security. Consider street sellers, peasant farmers, domestic servants, or day-wage laborers. They are necessary to the economy and can be reasonably low-paid and insecure positions. Therefore, despite the increase in the economy, most employees do not feel the difference in their income levels, or even in better living standards. The government has projects to advance educational and healthcare sectors, as well as social welfare. Yet there are occasions when everything turns out to be inadequate. Bureaucracy, corruption, and imbalance of resources all converge to mean that most of such programs fail to reach the people who are in most need of it. This is complicating making efforts to curb poverty and inequality, even though the country is experiencing economic advances. Cost of living is also another reason that makes many Indonesians have difficult life. The cost of basic needs such as food, housing, transportation, and healthcare has been escalating at a rate which is even higher than the wages in some cases. That becomes a burden to home budgets, particularly those families who live paycheck to paycheck. Many people are even squeezed even when the economy is improving due to the increments in their daily spending.
On the streets of the Indonesian capital, disappointment and disbelief. Supriyono had worked at a factory that made gas stoves for almost 3 decades.
I feel very, very sad. Just as I'm approaching retirement, it turns out the company's gone bankrupt.
His colleagues have gathered to protest, but the factory director says the business had been struggling with weak demand.
In 2019, the factory experienced a steep decline in product because people's purchasing power went down, and until now, we've had difficulty.
Another place where disparities present themselves is healthcare access. Dwellers of urban centers tend to have greater access to hospitals, clinics, and other medical workers. However, in rural areas, medical centers may be quite limited and hard to locate skilled physicians or nurses. This is a deprivation that results in worse health and impacts the working and the ability to provide for the family. Despite all these notwithstanding, the future of Indonesia is very bright. The population of the country is young, and it is increasing in numbers, implying that there is a big force of labor that will be able to play a central role in providing the country with economic growth in the future years. The middle-income classes are growing, and it is associated with an enhanced need for improved education, healthcare, infrastructure, and government. Much economic development and social progress can be attained through this increasing middle-income group. In order to realize this potential, Indonesia has to concentrate on several critical areas. Education is a serious concern. Not only that more children have access to education, but that it must be of high quality and applicable to the modern workplace. It translates to improved schooling of the teachers, curricula, and more chances of attaining vocational education and training. Healthcare must also be more open paying and be reached to all people, no matter the area they are residing in. Increasing cost and quality of medical services will assist in making people live healthier lives and be more able to work. The other significant move is facilitating transition of workers in the informal economy to formal jobs. This would provide them with more job security, greater pay, and provide them with social cover support, such as health insurance, retirement insurance, etc. Regularization of these jobs would also assist the government to receive taxes that can be used to support the government services. It is also of utmost concern to invest in rural development. Indonesia can decrease the disparity between the urban and rural territories by enhancing infrastructure, education, and economic opportunity beyond the large cities. This would further get more people out of poverty and result in a more balanced, reliable economy. Lastly, there should be good governance. It is the duty of the government to strive towards the effective implementation of various policies and making resources available to the most demanding individuals. To diminish the threat of corruption, it is possible to increase transparency, accountability, and engagement of the community to enhance the reputation of governmental institutions.
In 2019, more than 57 million Indonesians were classified as middle class. The latest data indicates that number has dropped by about 9.5 million. Experts say the decline is mostly due to increasing numbers of layoffs and fewer job opportunities. Some sectors, like the textiles industry, are seeing their worst redundancies in more than a decade.
Indonesia is one of the world's largest consumer markets, with private consumption a key driver of economic growth. It accounts for more than half of the country's GDP, and that's largely powered by the middle class.
History of Indonesia is that of tremendous advancement and enormous problems. The economy is developing further, and the country is in the process of going ahead. But not everyone is enjoying this growth. The actual aim is to ensure economic prosperity translates to improved living conditions of all Indonesians, namely improved education levels, healthcare, job security, as well as chances to enhance their futures. The gap between the growth of the nation and the prosperity of individuals should be bridged as a prerequisite to social stability and long-term achievement. It is not just a matter of generating big figures that translate into practical value in the daily life of people. Well, what do you say? How can Indonesia ensure that its economic performance benefits everybody? What will make the country come up with a future with shared prosperity? We would like to know what you think, so feel free to drop your thoughts.